I gave my father so much hate in the past for cheating on my mom and leaving us, but tonight I realized he's the only person I can call about my inner stresses, and he not only listens to every detail and nuance of my rambling but also calls back later to check in. My dad left my mom under a pretty scandalous situation. I won't go into too many details, but he had an affair and decided to leave her for the other woman. Eventually, she cheated on him and left, and my mom held out hope that he would return, but he never did. At the same time, I grew a deep resentment toward him, as do most kids in similar situations. But here is the realization that hit me. Now that decades have passed, I see my father as just a flawed human being. He has done some terrible things, but in one way, he has remained consistent. That consistency, to me, has made him more than just human. Tonight, I called him because I knew that if I voiced my thoughts to my other side of the family, it would just lead to an argument. Keeping it to myself became stressful. For whatever reason, I thought, what if I called Dad to talk to him? Then I had this moment where I told myself, he'll be too busy running around doing his thing. We only see each other once every few months, and he always has something going on. Still, I decided to call him anyway. To my surprise, my father completely defied my expectations. He listened to everything I said, even when I was rambling emotionally. He never interrupted or dismissed my feelings. He let me speak, then gave me advice. It was not just the usual advice but the kind that helped me see things from the other side while still validating my own perspective. He helped me understand that because of the complexities of the situation and the emotions involved from all sides, a communication breakdown was almost inevitable. We got off the phone, and an hour later, he called me back just to check in. He told me he had been reflecting on our conversation and wanted to know how I was feeling and what I was planning to do. He also reminded me that if I ever needed to talk, he would always be there. That was when it hit me. After all these years of resentment, I had forgotten something important. My perspective of my father had been shaped by my anger toward him. But when I thought back to the times I had truly needed help, he had always shown up. One night, my car broke down on a major highway about an hour away from him. I called him for advice, and he immediately said, I was about to head out with some friends, but when I saw your call, I figured you might need me. Send me your location, and I'll be right there. It was 10 at night. Then I realized that every time my car has broken down in the past 20 years, the first person I have called has been my dad. Every single time, he has dropped whatever he was doing, come to where I was, and stood in the rain or on the side of a busy highway working on my car. It started to dawn on me. I have told myself for years that I have a terrible relationship with my father, but it is my resentment that has been saying that. What he did to our family was not right, but tonight it really hit me. I am middle-aged now, and I will not have my dad around forever. One day, he will be gone. No matter what, this man has always shown up for me. Whether it is fixing my car in terrible weather or just listening when I need to vent, he has been there every time it truly mattered. I am sharing this because resentment blinded me for so long. I let it keep me from a better relationship with someone who will not be here forever, and now I realize that I have lost time I can never get back. I will post an update if anything new happens, but I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on the situation. Commenter 1, I completely understand this. My mom has been a heroin addict since I was little. She wasn't always around, and even when she wasn't really there, if that makes sense. As a teenager, I realized she was the only person in my family who truly believed me and understood my mental health struggles. Even now, we can have deep conversations about things like that, though in recent years, it has become harder as her condition worsens. Commenter 2, I think it would mean a lot to your dad if you had a conversation where you acknowledge and thank him for the times he has been there for you. Letting him know that you trust and rely on him now could really strengthen your relationship. Commenter 3, my mom never cheated, but my dad had to work abroad for months at a time due to circumstances. I grew up resenting the fact that I never had a close bond with him and that I was also parentified by my mother. It wasn't until I was in my 40s that I had a realization similar to yours. I can't get those years back, but I still have the opportunity to build an adult relationship with my parents. Talking to my mom on that level, as equals, was healing. There was so much I didn't see as a teenager and young adult, but now I understand what was happening behind the scenes. Commenter 4, someone can be a bad partner but still be a good parent. Very few people are completely villains or heroes. I'm glad your dad has been a good father to you. Don't feel guilty about embracing that. If you talk to him about your resentment, he will likely understand. Commenter 5, man, my dad and I had a really difficult relationship when I was a teenager and young adult. After years of not speaking, we finally managed to repair things. He passed away 2 years ago, and I miss him more than I can put into words. It wasn't until after he was gone that I fully realized how much he had been there for me. He always made an effort to come by and spend time with his grandson. I regret never telling him how much he meant to me.